Welcome into No Pun Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. We are halfway through the NFL season and a little over halfway through the fantasy football season at this point. Trade deadline came and passed for the NFL, but the trade deadline for your leagues may still be up and running like I know some of ours are. I am your host, Joe Zolo. Joining me, as always, Joshua Hudson and Ryan Weiss. And for, I want to say, the fifth or sixth time back on the show, we welcome back the one, the only, Mr. Jon Helmkamp. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to come act like a buffoon with you fools.
Always a good time.
It's gonna be good stuff. Let's talk some football.
I can't wait. This is fun. All right, so some quick news and notes before we get into everything here. Huge news for the Ravens. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley is out for the year. Not a knee injury like it may have looked when he went down. Yeah, obviously, a broken ankle isn't anything to bat an eye at, but a broken ankle is a little better than a torn ACL if you're comparing the two. He's done for the year. Packers running back A.J. Dillon out for Thursday, COVID positive. Jamal Williams was also sent home, considered a close contact. So it is down to
Dexter Williams and Tyler
Irvin.
Tyler Irvin, baby.
I plugged in Tyler Irvin into my DFS lineup for the showdown on DraftKings.
The Niners just lost Bourne today too. I'm almost betting that game's going to get pushed.
No, it's on a schedule. The Packers flew out today.
Yeah,
okay. It is on and happening. Tyler Irvin, I'm actually fairly intrigued by. Wasn't he like a preseason darling like 2 years ago? Like he had one really good preseason game for Houston.
I mean, he's lightning quick.
Oh yeah, he's
very
fast.
He's so fast.
So it's gonna be interesting.
He's a great receiving back. I don't know how he is in between the tackles.
Well, I think that's where Dexter Williams will kind of come in. I mean, I remember when I think it was last year when he was a rookie, everybody was like, "Oh man, we got to go grab Dexter Williams. He's going to be the guy that takes things over." And
psych.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Psych.
How'd that go? All that you need to know is if you didn't understand that Devonta Adams is the entire Packers offense right now,
you will
with no Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. He may break Brandon Marshall's single game record for receptions of 21. That's a very real possibility that we could see that.
So all aboard on that one.
If you find that prop bet anywhere, let me know. I might throw $10 at that.
Listen, if there's whatever Devonta Adams prop bet over under for receptions is, bet the over. Bet the over. Yeah, it's not high enough. Bet the over.
Watch it be like 11.5 or something.
Bet the over. Bet the over.
Yeah. Easy smash.
Are you kidding me? Easy smash.
Look at that in the first half.
Speaking of the 49ers on the opposing side, Garoppolo and George Kittle. Garoppolo's going to miss upwards of 6 weeks, so if he comes back for fantasy football purposes, it's not going to be till the semifinals at the earliest. And you
don't want him anyway.
Yeah, you don't want him anyway. But George Kittle expected to land on IR. In the words of Kyle Shanahan, the doctors say 8 weeks. Kittle says 2 weeks.
Yep.
So
let's go somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, what more would you expect out of George Kittle?
Right.
So likely out 8 weeks, but knowing Kittle, he may come back in 4. Jake Luton, the rookie 6th rounder from Oregon State, will start for Jacksonville on Sunday.
I may or may not have picked him up in a Superflex league.
Hey, man, he's a healthy quarterback. He's a healthy quarterback.
Can't be too picky these days.
Yeah. No. Against a bad defense,
I really
too.
just want to see if I can flip him for like a 3rd-round pick or something.
There you
go. In this economy, yeah, you're dang right.
In this economy. And then Javon Wims, the new UFC heavyweight fighter, suspended 2 games for punching C.J. Gardner-Johnson smack in the face.
That is not what it says in the show notes, Joe.
Oh, yeah, I said 2 games for flicking C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the ear. Just a casual tap. Yeah. I think the best part is that Gardner-Johnson didn't see it coming, and Wims was kind of like, hey, right in the face.
Yeah,
I know, it was great. My favorite part was that he throws it, and then he comes back.
Yeah, he's like, what?
And the guy just takes it and looks at him like,
what are you doing, dude?
Like,
that was my favorite part, is that he literally looked at him like, what is happening right
what
now?
are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And by the way, can we just talk about wide receivers punching helmets?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Literally, your hands are your job.
Yep.
And you're going to punch a helmet. Like,
At
bad business decision. Come on.
I was going to say, at least he hit him open-handed.
Yeah.
I
mean, if he
guess.
balls the fist and hits him, I think that's even dumber.
Can
that
we
would
just
have been amazing.
can we do what Andre Johnson and Cortland
Take the
Finnegan did
helmet
and
off.
just rip off the helmets? Like,
Oh,
that's
the
easier.
throwdown. That was amazing.
That's easier. Let's do that.
good.
And then some big trade deadline moves.
Who, buddy?
The Dolphins traded
So
Isaiah
active.
Ford to the New England Patriots for a 2022 7th-round pick.
I actually want to touch on this, not for any sort of fantasy implication, but for real life football.
Sure.
Because it's not fantasy relevant. Like, okay, well, maybe. Like, if you have him on your roster, it's probably an upgrade because the Patriots don't have anyone else catching the ball right now.
Correct.
So if he was a deep flyer in your deep dynasty league, okay, maybe, let's see what happens. But for real life football, the fact that the Dolphins are willing to send a receiver in division to the Patriots tells me that they are so confident that the Patriots are not going to come anywhere close to sniffing the playoffs this year, that they're willing to send them a player. I never would have thought that I would have seen Miami sending the Patriots someone at the deadline instead of normally the other way around, where they're like, oh, sure, we'll take your leftover scraps, Patriots, please. Like, it's very interesting. The Patriots are full on panic mode. Bill Belichick has no idea what to do right now, and it's kind of entertaining to watch.
I as a Patriots fan, I can tell you we don't have a chance at the playoffs.
No.
Our only chance was beating Buffalo. That was the let's get back on the wagon here, And then Cam Newton fumbled that away. We'll get to that in a second. And then the Chiefs traded for DeAndre Washington with Myles Gaskin.
Traded away.
I'm sorry, traded away. Thank you, Josh. Demon's back. Unplug, replug. This at the moment doesn't really have great implications for fantasy, but with Matt Breida being very injury prone,
Well, he missed practice today. Breida did.
big time, and then Jordan Howard obviously not being used as much in this offense.
He's been a healthy scratch.
Healthy scratch for like 3-4 weeks. Yeah.
I mean, they still have Lynn Bowden Jr., I believe, on their roster. So maybe Lynn Bowden comes for DeAndre Washington, but DeAndre Washington is a very good receiving back.
Yes.
So if they want to utilize him in that role, even spread him out as a receiver, I'm not saying scram and go get DeAndre Washington, but pay attention because that Miami backfield is anything but secure for anyone back there right now.
Yeah, even when Gaskin was splitting with Breida, Gaskin was still seeing most of the passing work. So I wonder if they're going to use Breida as the runner and Gaskin or Washington as the pass catcher.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting. All right, before we head into our 3 up, 3 downs, upside downsides here, we already have a quick question. So from our buddy McSweet, who, John, he traded away Aaron Jones last week. So, yeah, there's the preface. So he's asking, does he trade for Dalvin Cook? McSweet, if you can get Dalvin Cook,
you're not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, you're
right
not
now
gonna.
coming off that 4 touchdown game. This is not the time to try to go buy Dalvin Cook.
Exactly.
I wouldn't. If you're looking for some running back help because you traded away Aaron Jones, by the way, why? Then there's some other buy low targets out there that you can possibly go after. There's a couple rookie running backs that are underperforming right now that I think could have stronger second halves to the season. Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, kind of both. DeAndre Swift coming off a really low game. So there's some other options if you're looking for running back help. I would not try to go buy like the shiny piece that's like flaming hot right now coming off of the best game of the season. That's not the time to go out and try to get Dalvin Cook. If for whatever reason you can at an affordable price, then yes, by all means, please. But yeah. I'd be curious as to the format. Is this dynasty or redraft? And what the kind of price point is in return, because that person might be looking to sell high coming off of that 4 touchdown game as well.
Correct.
Yeah, don't sacrifice all of your wide receivers in depth to get one running back.
Correct.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook's not dropping 50 points every week.
No,
I mean, he could this week.
I could again. Yeah, no, very well could.
I mean, it's the Lions, so he could.
Yeah, very well could. From my brother, Thursday Night Football question from G. JaMychal Hasty or Brandon Ayuk in the flex this week? I can tell you this is a PPR league. So who would you rather, Hasty or Ayuk in the flex this week at home against Green Bay? Josh?
I would go Hasty. Ayuk's probably going to see Jair Alexander a lot this week, and Alexander has basically shut everybody down not named Adam Thielen. So, and again, the Green Bay run defense is terrible. That's how
they just gave up the Dalvin Cook thing.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I'll take
I would,
Michael Hasty.
I would go Hasty.
Ryan?
Same answer. Literally, Jair Alexander is going to. There's nobody else he has to worry about in that entire wide receiving core or tight ends or anything.
Yeah, Trent Taylor.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you shame Trent Taylor.
Excuse me, Ross Dwelly is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. And
for
he'll
your
be
tight end production needs.
And he'll be blocking for JaMychal Hasty all night.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
Listen.
Yes,
you want a cheap dynasty play? Throw in Ross Dwelly. Watch him grab a touchdown maybe. Who knows?
Got one last week.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
To the Stream Master General from BDB, what is your confidence level in streaming Drew Lock this week? I know this because I made the graphic earlier this morning. But you yourself can explain what's your confidence in streaming Lock this week.
I guess if you grade it on a scale of 5, he's my second player. So my confidence level would be 4 out of 5.
Yes.
The issue is he's looked good for 1 week, and I actually have this in my notes because he's actually my upside play. And just to jump ahead a little bit, I made him my upside, but Daniel Jones my stream of the week so that I could hedge my bets. I'm hopefully going to be right about one of them. Obviously, he has an excellent matchup, but he's looked good once, and we just don't know if that's going to carry over because he's looked very bad 2 games before that.
Yeah. All right, into our 3 ups now. John, you have Zach Moss, who I believe ripped off 2 touchdowns against the Patriots.
Yes, sir.
Nyheim Hines, who had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns against Detroit, and Corey Davis. Ryan, you have Justin Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, who ripped 100 on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and
the
you
first
also
running
Zach
back
Moss.
to do so this year against the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, Pittsburgh previous to that was allowing, I believe, 3.3 yards per carry.
Something like that.
They're a top 2 run defense with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh, you have Matthew Stafford, Corey Davis as well, and Gus Edwards. Myself, I had DJ Dallas. Fun fact, since week 6, DJ Dallas has more touchdowns than the Dallas Cowboys as a team.
Love that stat.
Fun fact.
Dallas versus Dallas. That's fun.
Yeah, DJ Dallas had 2 touchdowns last week. The Dallas Cowboys since week 6 have had 1.
That makes me happy. Like that that little like wordplay on the DJ Dallas versus the Dallas offense, and that DJ Dallas is better than Dallas's entire offense. It, like as like my writing side is going, oh, that's fun.
It's incredible. Also, I do want to point out for an FCS James Madison quarterback, DiNucci didn't look awful. His receivers dropped 5 passes?
Yeah, he didn't look good, though.
Listen, I'm not saying he looked good. I'm not saying he looked good. But that sidearm throw, though.
He looked like he didn't belong in the game.
Guys.
Pretty bad.
Guys,
he looked like a guy who maybe needs to sit on a bench for 4 to the rest of his life years.
Hello.
Then...
The sidearm pass? Come on. Let's be honest.
Stop. You're not Chris Collinsworth. I don't need to hear about a sidearm pass every single time it happens. Like, oh, the sidearm. Would you look at that? Looking like Patrick Mahomes with the sidearm action.
You already know
how time.
Well, so you already know how bad he is that they've already benched him for either Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm
By
mad.
the way, shout out to James Madison University.
Ben DiNucci deserves another shot. Ben DiNucci got scammed. I have Dalvin Cook as my second upside. Thank you for the 58 points. And I put CJ Gardner-Johnson here because for him not retaliating to Javon Wims' 2 punches, I think that's composure at its finest.
Yep.
Also, he is one of the worst cornerbacks in the NFL. Yes. He couldn't cover a football field with a 120-yard blanket. Like, he's awful. Absolutely terrible.
Yep.
The only reason he's on the up list is because he kept his composure. Downs, John. Darius Slayton. Robbie Anderson. Can we just pile in every single player from that Thursday Night Football game last week?
Yes.
minus Julio Jones, who I think had over 100.
Yeah, he did.
And then also Dallas Goedert. Ryan, you said you cede your time to John to convince me that you didn't make a mistake taking Jonathan Taylor everywhere. John, I'm on the same boat as you. I'm not obviously as high on JT because you're in an upper echelon. But you did tweet out there was a post-game interview with Phillip Rivers, and he mentioned briefly that JT was banged up. We didn't know that going into this week. So
he looked like he was limping during the game.
He looked, the cuts weren't there.
Yeah, he looked slow.
He looked slow, which is very, very unlike him. So this makes sense. The quote was nicked up. And then Frank Reich, like after Phillip Rivers let the cat out of the bag, reporters asked Reich about it, and he's like, yeah, he's dealing with like a little bit of an ankle.
Yeah, a little bit of an ankle.
Yeah, something to that effect. I'm like, what's a little bit of an ankle mean? So he is a little banged up right now, which makes me feel better about last weekend because I was.
I think all of us were. This is the absolute weekend. Smash play. Yeah.
I was coming off that, like against that defense. To their credit, the Lions' rush defense has been better, like in the last 3 weeks than they were to start the season. So let's not, make it sound like this is the Houston, Swiss cheese defense. They are a little bit better, but it was still a definitely plus matchup. That I expected Jonathan Taylor to come out and be like, okay, here we go. Like we're starting the second half of the season, coming off the bye week, which is also an interesting thing. Nicked up ankle coming off bye week. How'd that happen? Yeah. So there's still more to kind of be uncovered there, and we're not hearing a lot, which is concerning. But to me, like I'm still in. And also the Indianapolis offensive line, which was arguably the best run offensive line in the NFL last year, returned everyone on that line, and they've been really underperforming compared to what they were last year. We're not seeing like, the International House of Pancakes out of Quentin Nelson every weekend like we were seeing last year. So I'm a little concerned about that line as well. It feels like this offense as a whole just really doesn't have an identity. It's like 1 week they want to go run. The next week they want it to be Naheem Hines receiving out of the backfield. The next week, the defense randomly sucks, and then it's Phillip Rivers having to scramble and play, not actually scramble because Rivers can't scramble, having to play catch-up mode. Like this team is just very confusing, yet is somehow 5-2. I don't know kind of what's going on there. I'm still holding out hope that, and I think this will happen, that Jonathan Taylor is going to still return value in redraft for the second half of the season as we start coming down the stretch here. The strength of schedule is amazing for the running back position. It is so golden. And it's just going to take like one game where he can kind of solidify himself as being that guy. And then I think they'll kind of turn it over to him more and give him more run. In Dynasty, I'm not worried at all because it's his rookie season with, no preseason to speak of. There's only one rookie running back inside the top 12, and that's CEH. Bunch of these
counts the last couple of weeks have just
way plummeted.
Way down.
Yeah,
that snap count 50, with Le'Veon Bell there is very concerning as well. So all of these guys, all these rookie running backs, I'm just preaching patience and saying, just wait, give them time. There was no preseason. Their long-term value is still good. It's still okay. Let's wait and see what happens. But to be honest, I am nervous about Jonathan Taylor. I thought by this point in the season, he'd be killing it. And it hasn't happened yet. And I think that's fair to point out. There are some issues. His vision has not been great, which is very weird because it looked phenomenal in college. So I am still, I'm nervous, but I do believe in his talent and his, his physical profile, the speed, the size, all of it is so good as well. So Dynasty, I'm still good. Redraft, I'm cautiously optimistic that I think that he's still going to get this thing righted to end.
Where do you think he finishes from here on out rest of season based on what we've seen so far and how good that schedule is going forward?
Yeah,
do you still think has that top 12 potential, or do you see him more as a 12 to 20 guy?
I was going to say 15.
Okay.
I think 15 is kind of where I would expect like the mean to be, like my average of where he would end up. If he gets on a heater though, and he takes over that backfield, like if he gets one game where he snaps a couple of really good ones, and they're like, okay, it's you. Fuck this Jordan Wilson's guy. Oops, sorry about my word.
You're
there.
good. Go for
fine.
it.
Let's let's get Jordan Wilkins out of the way. Let's let JT get the run. Let's give him 18 carries a game. I think that he definitely has RB1 potential down the second half of the season.
So would you still start him this week against Baltimore over a guy like Zach Moss or Damian Harris?
Baltimore's tough. That is difficult for me with the concerns about the ankle and the fact that we're not really hearing anything about that right now. I think that I'm going to hold off if I have better options. Okay. I think that Zach Moss, with the usage that we saw, his red zone usage last week, he's getting the goal line opportunities. I might feel a little bit more confident about that because it's entirely possible that JT is still nicked up with a little bit of an ankle, and they limit his workload a lot this week and only give him like 6 to 8 carries, and Jordan Wilkins is carrying the majority of the work. So I'm very cautious about him this week until we hear a little bit more, if we're going to hear anything at all.
Perfect.
I'm all about it. Finishing up the downs here before we get into some of these questions over on YouTube. Josh, yours is all about failed revenge games.
Yeah.
Mr. Jimmy Graham, tight end 31. That's Seattle Jimmy Graham showing up there for you. John knows all too well about that.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon. Philip Lindsay took his touchdown.
Yep.
And Le'Veon Bell.
That one bothers me the most.
Was he ever on the field?
Understand.
That's why that one's last and in all caps. Where's the revenge?
Was he ever on the field?
I mean, they got the win, so, maybe that suffices. But, yeah, 6.8 fantasy points? Come on, man. That was terrible.
Especially when he announced the 3 teams he was looking at, and it was the Jets' next 3 games. Yeah, so you really thought revenge was on his mind.
So mad. Put him in a bunch of DFS lineups. So mad.
Yeah.
Myself, I have Frank Reich. This was prior to me knowing that Jonathan Taylor had an ankle injury, because I was just going to say hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I'll make one up on the spot. DJ Moore, disappointing. Even though he was open,
Oh my God.
I'll put that more on Teddy. But yeah,
Did you see the picture that I posted?
Yes,
last Thursday night?
He was wide open.
Arrow.
Gone.
Would have housed it. Like legitimately from probably 60 yards out. I think he would have housed that thing because there was one defender on that side of the field on his slant. 3rd down and short. I can't remember the exact yardage. And they got DJ Moore coming across on a slant. The rest of the offense went the opposite direction and pulled the entire secondary that way, except for the deep shot to I think it was Robbie Anderson. So there's the one cornerback who's got his back turned literally in a full sprint with Robbie Anderson. All you have to do is get it to DJ Moore, and he makes the one guy miss. And if Robbie Anderson can put a good block on him, case closed, and he houses him like 60 yards out.
And wasn't it against Atlanta where he scored his first touchdown by just outrunning their entire secondary?
Yeah, he ran like a skinny post and then beat it to the sideline. Yep. Exactly. My second down, Andy Reid, just give the ball to Le'Veon Bell. And Cam Newton, just don't fumble. It's very simple. Hold the football with 2 hands. You are a 10-year veteran. Don't fumble the football. Oh, that made me so mad. I was regaining faith in Cam Newton.
You know what? I'm going to be honest, Joe. I'm not sorry.
That's fine. John, I can't wait for the next 10 to 15 years to be a self-deprecating Patriots fan.
Oh,
I can't wait.
I can't wait. Beautiful.
I can't wait. In the words of Big Jim Murray, who is a Boston sports radio host, bench Cam Newton, never let him in the city again. This is awful. This is terrible. And Ryan, I told you, this is not. Cam Newton is finished.
To be clear, he doesn't fumble that ball. He's a top 15 quarterback, and I'm right on my upside.
Okay. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
All right.
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So we don't take ifs on this show. All right, coming from Josh specifically. All right, 25 minutes in, off the rails. Here we go. From our buddy Sean over on YouTube, 10-team PPR league. He lost George Kittle and he can't decide who to waiver claim. Who do we like? Mike Gesicki, Logan Thomas, Jared Cook, Trey Burton, Ross Dwelly. Also, Austin Hooper is available. This is for going forward, so it's not just this week. He's looking for going forward as well.
Cook this week, and you need to get Hooper because he's going to be involved in that offense with OBJ gone. So,
is that Hooper saying that you already have him, or is he just another?
I think it's just another one. He's probably going to have to add two guys.
Option on the waivers.
Yeah.
I'd go Gesicki and Hooper would be the two that I'm interested in. I think that Gesicki still possesses a lot of upside. I'm curious to see how Tua is going to utilize him.
Yep.
If he's going to be targeting him. So I'll take Mike Gesicki for the upside, but I think that Austin Hooper is a really safe option out of this bunch that's going to be utilized in that offense quite a bit. I think he's got a pretty smash spot this weekend as well.
Yep.
Jared Cook, though, as well, has a really good matchup. So, yeah, there's a couple guys there for sure.
Don't panic. On bye this week, so he'd have to add two of these guys.
His next matchup that I was thinking about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, don't panic. There's some good options there. If I'm taking two of those guys, I'm so, like, if I'd add Hooper for him going forward after this weekend, and I would probably I'd take Jared Cook. I'd take Jared Cook and Hooper because I'd take Jared Cook's matchup for this weekend, and then Hooper's probably going to be your starter going forward after that.
Yep. Josh?
I like Gesicki rest of season. I do not like him this week against Arizona. But Gesicki would probably be the guy that I would get.
Isn't that weird, by the way, how Arizona was the worst defense against the tight end position last season, and then now they're like top 5 defending against the tight end?
Yep. They figured out they should probably put Budda Baker, the best safety in the league, on the tight end. They probably figured that out. Moronic that they didn't do that last year. I'm probably in the same area as John, Hooper, and I think Jared Cook's matchup is too freaking good this week.
Yep.
His touchdown upside is still huge as well. And then a second one from...
But do you feel the same way about Cook if Michael Thomas comes back this week?
Yes.
Because we've seen when Thomas is in that offense, it's basically him and Kamara. And then it's just kind of like it's very hit or miss on everybody else.
I still think Cook has solid touchdown upside in that offense. He's huge. He's absolutely huge.
And their bottom 5, I believe, Tampa Bay is against the tight end position in terms of fantasy points allowed. So
it's going to be a shootout. That game's going to go back and forth. So the opportunity for Cook's going to be there. And Kamara is going to get shut down against that run defense. So they're going to have to utilize...
Kamara doesn't get shut down. Kamara's going to have 30 rushing yards and 120 receiving.
Oh, receiving? No. Exactly. He's not going to get shut down in the receiving game. He's not going to be able to run the football against that defense. Yeah.
Right.
No, Kamara's going to have a good game because his receiving upside is ridiculous. And then the second question from Sean here, Josh Allen against Seattle or Justin Herbert against Las Vegas. They're both at home.
Don't bench Justin Herbert for the love of God.
Yes. I had Herbert as my downside last week because I had my whole thing in Denver and I stick to it.
Shame on you.
We tried to tell him.
I literally said to it every time he said because I go, you like to be wrong.
I have stuck to that every single time, and I will continue to stick to it. That I don't like young quarterbacks going into Denver for their first start. But obviously, Justin Herbert is a little bit better than that.
I will say I do love Josh Allen's matchup this week. But he has not looked great.
I don't care. Like I don't care. Like, listen,
I'm not saying start Josh Allen. I would absolutely go Herbert in this matchup.
I'm a Seahawks fan, and I know that we suck on defense right now. We played way better this week, which was great against San Francisco. Really nice showing. Bobby Wagner was all over the field. It was fantastic. That's great. Bobby Wags. But I'm just really concerned about Josh Allen right now. The performances over the last 3 weeks, and you can say it was because of coronavirus with the scheduling change with Tennessee and then weather and stuff like that. But it's like you play in Buffalo if weather is going to be a problem for you, that is a problem for you because you play in Buffalo, New York, where weather is a thing. So he's going to have to learn to overcome bad weather. But he just doesn't look right. He doesn't look like he did early in the season where the dude was just tearing up the league. He's making bad decisions. He's missing open receivers. He's throwing it into the ground, overshooting guys. It's not good. So even though it's a great matchup, it's Herbert over Josh Allen every game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Josh Allen is starting with a -4 every week because he's turning the ball over twice, either through interceptions or fumbles. So
Josh Allen is bad at football. That's that simple.
Let's not go that far. I like Josh Allen, and I think that he's going to have some get right and eventually get himself kind of back to not what he was early in the season, because that was the benefit of incredibly easy schedule and things like that. But I still think that Josh Allen, like from a dynasty perspective, is a top 10 dynasty quarterback. Sure. I still like his upside. What he brings to the rushing game is very important as well.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
But it's like, until further notice, it's like right now, like you're on my practice squad until you show me that you're going to start producing again. Because right now I'm very nervous about the production that we've seen.
Correct. From our buddy Lee, he says he can't believe he is asking this, but does he start Ezekiel Elliott? His other options could be Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery, or move him into the flex and use Adam Thielen. This is a standard. He can't believe he just asked that. Well, Lee, I can tell you, this week, I just traded for Ezekiel Elliott, and I can tell you I am not starting Ezekiel Elliott this week. I hate his matchup against Pittsburgh. Absolutely despise it. So, no, you're not crazy for asking that question. But when your other option is David Montgomery here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, give me Monty. I'll take Monty this week over Zeke.
Wow, big
Straight
time.
Up.
Okay.
I think that Monty will outperform Ezekiel Elliott this week because you are going to have Dallas, which, again, hasn't scored a touchdown in like...
They've scored one touchdown since week 6.
Since week 6.
Yep.
Since the drive that got Dak Prescott hurt.
Correct. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. You're going to have Ezekiel Elliott with a really banged-up offensive line and like your 4th or 5th string quarterback. You think that Pittsburgh is nervous about the passing game at all with who's going to be back there in their pass rush? They're going 8-9 in the box and blitzing like all day long. They're going to make this game hell for the quarterback, whoever it is, whether it's Cooper Rush or other. And a lot of the times they like to do run-stopping blitz as well. Bring a linebacker down into the box that helps in the run game. Ezekiel Elliott, first and foremost, I think that he's just kind of disinterested since the injury to Dak because they're like, well, we're not going to do anything this year. We're not good enough this year. Tony Pollard looked way more explosive than Ezekiel Elliott did last week. So I'm concerned that, one, Tony Pollard's going to start eating into that workload for the second half of the year. And two, that Zeke's just kind of not motivated and that line is not what it used to be. And who knows who's going to be under center. Zeke is like a big time fade for me this week. I would be shocked if he gets into double-digit points. David Montgomery, on the other hand, has a nice little matchup. I am not as down as Mr. Joshua Hudson is on David Montgomery. I think that he's going to perform just fine. So I'll take David Montgomery over Ezekiel Elliott. Sometimes you can't let your feelings or your preseason get in the way now. We're halfway through the year, things change. And I know that you probably spent a top 5 draft pick on Ezekiel Elliott. I get it. It sucks. It happens. But at this point, you can't hold on to ADP. You got to be looking at the matchup this week, and you got to take a look at this and make the right call.
And with these quarterbacks, they're going to be able to run blitz them for the rest of the season is the issue.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be able to man up those wide receivers knowing that the quarterback can't make a fast enough read. That's going to jam up Zeke. That's going to cause turnovers, bad field position. Zeke's a hard fade from now on.
I agree.
Yeah, I think with Zeke going forward, you're playing matchups. Like he's basically going to be an RB2 going forward for me.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Something to add.
Rest of season, Ezekiel Elliott or Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
I think you got to go. Yeah, I think he has to go. I think you have to go Taylor.
Instant. No hesitation in that question. Jonathan Taylor. No
I
question.
love it so much. You're my new favorite, Joe.
Love you, buddy. Something to add about David Montgomery, too. Yes, he has arguably the worst run-blocking offensive line in the NFL, which doesn't play in his favor. But last week, out of all running backs eligible, he had the most missed tackles or produced missed tackles. However you want to word the
Forced
stat.
missed tackles.
Forced missed tackles. Thank you, Josh. At 8 in one game. That's a lot of missed tackles. Like
that's getting hit behind the line. A lot. That is not good.
So it's like,
but also shaking out of it.
Exactly.
Also shaking out of it. It's
which
like
is good.
And
but see, for me, that stat is great. But then it becomes okay. Now, how many yards did you gain after contact?
You know what I mean? Like, Josh, here's the thing: is for dynasty purposes, don't get rid of Montgomery yet because he is as skill wise as a running back, one of the best skill players at that position, just based off of his God-given gift of making people miss.
Well, remember that famous screenshot of the college production where he's got the legs of Saquon and the agility of Zeke, and like they basically were dubbing him the Frankenstein of running backs coming out of college.
Yeah.
Which obviously was a little far-fetched, but I do think that David Montgomery is good. I don't think he's as bad. I hate this narrative that's floating around that he's just a terrible running back. It's like his line sucks, guys. Yeah. He's
on a terrible team. It's hard to be a good running back.
Yeah. He's making the best of a bad situation.
And he has no competition for carries. And I don't think that he's going to, because they've got a running back on a rookie contract. Mm-hmm. So even going into next year, they're probably not bringing in competition for him. It's probably going to be him. Maybe
they need to bring in linemen to block for him.
Exactly. I think that's where they're going to be investing, because they're not going to have a high enough draft pick to change the quarterback situation.
Yep.
They're going to be going offensive line so hard in the draft next year because they feel good about their defense right now. So I expect that his situation.
And this year they actually have early picks, because if you remember, the last couple of years they haven't had that early draft capital because of that Khalil Mack trade.
Yep.
Right. They're going to have their first, even though their record is going to put them at being like a mid to late first round pick. But they should be able to address their offensive line with a nice pick in the first round.
Well, this is a pretty
I think
deep
it's going to get better.
Lineman class.
It's a very deep lineman class. Yeah.
The class in total is super deep.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so good. Especially for fantasy purposes. All right.
Yes.
We have a lot of questions here. And I want to try and fly through these because we appreciate everyone asking questions. I want to make sure we don't get behind here. All right. Another one from our buddy Sean over on YouTube. I'm just going in order from how they came in. 10-team league, standard, pick 3 running backs to start this week. David Johnson, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Carson, James Robinson. It says everyone's really high on David Johnson, but he's been average.
Not me.
Yeah, no, I'll start. I'll go David Johnson and James Robinson in the same game. And then if Chris Carson is healthy, I'll go Chris Carson, but if not, Antonio Gibson.
Perfect answer. I don't need to add to that.
Yeah, that's the way that I would go too. Johnson, Robinson.
Fantastic. Wow, that was easy. Wow, I've never had everyone agree with me. There's normally a lot of pushback. All right, from Michael, he has to ask Lamar or Big Ben this week. Lamar is, I believe, at home against is it in Indy or at home?
I think it's in Indy, if I remember correctly.
Indy, and then Pittsburgh is in Dallas. My vote, Ben Roethlisberger against arguably and statistically could be the worst defense of all time.
Yeah, your only worry is that game gets out of hand too quickly and it just ends up being running all day.
Yeah, because Ben's not running.
It's Big Ben. The Indianapolis defense is very good across the board. They are like giving up bottom 5 fantasy points allowed to every position. So it's not just like, oh, well, they're really good against quarterbacks and wide receivers, but he can have a field day in the run game. They're really good against the run as well. So it's Big Ben in that matchup for me. Lamar is quarterback 17 since week 4.
Not good.
Not great, Bob.
No, not great. All right, from Mace 2020 over on Periscope, he needs a Ridley backup plan. Does he get his backup Russell Gage, Darnell Mooney, or Jacoby Myers? I love how he has to add of New England because no one knows who Jacoby Myers is besides me. Man, I love Myers.
I mean, if you need it just this week, I don't hate Myers this week against the
I don't
Jets.
hate Myers this week either.
No.
So I would lean Jacoby Myers so reluctantly.
Darnell Mooney is my favorite player of the three, but they don't have a quarterback that can get him the ball on the deep shot. So
that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I'm going with Jacoby Myers this week against the Jets.
Oh God, it's so painful to say that. Lauren checking in, loves you, John. Just wanted to
Hey,
give you that.
love you, Lauren. Good to see you.
Also, we're happy that we propelled Lauren's career further by getting her on NFL Fantasy Live after her appearance on our show in Week 8. Awesome, Lauren. That was fantastic. So congratulations.
Hey, Lauren, can you tell Adam to get me on? Thanks.
get John on there. Yep. Steely's asking what to do with Michael Thomas. And
is that Michael Thomas or Mike Thomas of the
I was going to say, are you worried about the wide receiver 5 for Cincinnati?
Oh, that's true. I'm going to assume it's the wide receiver 1 in New Orleans.
Sure.
You're holding on to him. Like,
what can you do there? He has no value.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're holding on to him. And Tommy's bringing up that Garrett Gilbert was trained for this moment by Steve Spurrier in the AAF to start this week.
He's been waiting so long for this.
Yes, against Pitt.
Wasn't he on the Browns practice squad and the Cowboys went and got him?
Yes, I believe so. BDB, he needs an RB2 and a flex play. His running backs are Jerick McKinnon, Damian Harris, Melvin Gordon. Also has receivers of Denzel Mims and Sterling Shepard. He needs, or one of the three. I'm confused. He needs an RB2 and a flex. Let's go with that. My vote is Damian Harris and Sterling Shepard. I don't like it. But
I'm gonna go with Damian Harris. I think that he earned his role finally, and I love it. I loved him as a prospect coming out of Alabama. Remember that Damian Harris had more carries at Alabama than Josh Jacobs in the same season.
Yep.
Like he was a very good college running back, and I've been waiting for him to get the chance, and he finally balled out, and I love it. And I hope that they realize that this offense needs to be relying upon the run game instead of on Cam. So I'm going to go Damian Harris for sure. And I'm going to go Jerick McKinnon with the lack of pass catching options that they have. Everyone's hurt. Their quarterback's hurt.
I got it, Josh.
Okay.
So our buddy Sean and as well as Tommy Garrett have typed in the chat, there is no Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And there is no longer no Trent Williams.
Wait, hold up. Brandon Ayuk?
Whoa.
No more
contact.
Brandon Ayuk for tomorrow's game, considered close contact with Kendrick Bourne and Trent Williams. Trent Williams.
Oh, okay.
The left tackle.
I was too busy watching the election. I didn't see the Brandon Ayuk news.
That's literally, I think this literally just came through.
The show,
just now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So they have because they just cut Dante Pettis.
Yeah, which is hilarious. Can we talk about the fact that they are down everyone because of injury, and they still cut him? Like, how bad do you have to be that you still get cut in that scenario? So they've got no one.
I will read you their depth
Jordan
chart.
Matthews on for a little while.
By the way, if you have any option of playing the Green Bay defense this week, please do.
Yes.
Yeah. Anywhere.
So here is the depth chart here for the San Francisco 49ers at wide receiver, because Deebo Samuel is also considered close contact. So
he was out already.
Yeah, I don't know if he was healthy or not.
Yeah.
Here's their depth chart. Wide receiver 1 is Richie James.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wide receiver 2 is Trent Taylor. Wide receiver 3 is TBD because they don't have a third receiver on their roster.
I bet they bring Jordan Matthews back. I think he's their most recent one who isn't Dante
But
Pettis.
even then, they wouldn't even be able to play him this week.
Because you'd have to go through the 5 days.
Because he has to go through the.
So here are their skill position players.
Ross Dwelly,
Richie James, Trent Taylor, Ross Dwelly, Charlie Werner, who is a 6th round pick this year at tight end, Jerick McKinnon, and JaMychal Hasty, and Kyle.
All the running backs. Running backs.
Jordan Reed will be back. They practiced him. He'll be back. They'll activate him tomorrow.
All right. Well, oh god, yeah. This is not looking good for the 49ers this week. But yeah, so there's
not to mention Nick Mullins at quarterback.
Yes,
and they're down their left tackle as well.
Yes, and they're down the left tackle. Although Trent Williams has been average at best this season.
We told somebody earlier to start JaMychal Hasty. Do not start JaMychal Hasty.
Yeah, do not start JaMychal Hasty. No. If I'm the Packers, I'm putting 11 in the box. Forget about the receivers.
That pass rush is going to
that may not matter. 11 in the box still may not matter.
Yeah,
that
that's
defense
true.
is so bad.
But speaking of Jerick McKinnon, Dave from Fantasy Go asks, what's your confidence level in McKinnon this week? I think it just skyrocketed with that news, but he asked Jerick McKinnon or Jared Cook in the flex.
The only way I'm touching McKinnon is full PPR just because he's going to catch a shit ton of balls. He's just not going to get any yardage out of it.
Yeah. It's got to be PPR for McKinnon, but I would still lean Jared Cook.
Yeah, with Cook, I think you're banking on the touchdown upside.
Yeah,
that's it. It's a touchdown or bust for Jared.
But
Cook.
I think McKinnon catches 8 balls, and that makes up for a touchdown catch out of Cook.
That's true. That's a fair point.
I think that I'm going to go McKinnon here. I think that with them having absolutely nothing in that offense, dude, they're going to have no other choice. I mean, they're going to have to. It's just going to be screens and out routes out of the backfield here and there, just dump offs, just ease whatever you can do to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand as fast as possible. Yeah, and that's going to benefit Jerick McKinnon. I think.
I'm sorry about that, Joe. Didn't they just have a game 2 weeks ago where they had no positive air yards or whatever? They're just going to run that same game script again.
So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be just misdirection and screens, and this is like if they somehow pull this off, then just give the coach of the year right now to Shanahan. Like, if they somehow pull off this game against Green Bay, he's going to have to game script the hell out of this thing. It's going to be a lot of Jerick McKinnon, though. I'm going to take him.
So I have a couple things here. I do want to point out that Mace apparently says Richie James dominated his local flag football league last year. That's awesome that you played Richie James in a flag football league. The only person I ever played, he was like a practice squad player for the Eagles. So that's really cool. You got to play an NFL player. And Lauren is very impatient. We're getting there, Lauren. We know you're big time now. Please bear with us. We have a lot of questions. Lauren getting antsy. Robert Tonyan or Noah Fant this week?
Noah Fant. Not even close.
Drew Lock, when Noah Fant was injured, loved throwing to Albert O. So clearly, Okuyegbunam. Oh God, I love that name. Also love that he's 6'5" and runs a 4.5 40. Love that. But yeah, Drew Lock has a love affair with the tight end position.
The Falcons have also allowed the most receptions on the year to tight ends. So
yeah, and I think Fant's had 8+ targets in each of the last 2 games. So I mean, it's
Noah Fant.
Smash play.
Yep. Shades needs 2 and a standard among these misfits, he says. Jonathan Taylor's a misfit.
No. Get your sarcasm out of here with your riches.
David Johnson.
Nice lineup.
David Johnson, Ronald Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, or Damian Harris. I am going David Johnson and Damian Harris.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, New Orleans is just stupid good against the run. I can't trust Rojo in that spot here this week. Zeke, yikes. Jonathan Taylor with the ankle injury. I mean, I don't really like David Johnson much either. I'll tell you what. I just really don't like David Johnson. I really don't like him. So I'm gonna say that I have to play one of those other guys over David Johnson, and I'm gonna go Rojo just based off his usage in that offense. So I'm going to go Rojo and Damian Harris because I'm still concerned about the ankle for Jonathan Taylor.
That's fair.
My only issue is Rojo's usage is starting to lean towards passing game, and it's a standard.
Yeah. All right. So from Rajveer Ashot, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but welcome to the show. He has a lot of running backs at the moment, and I'm just going to say this now. How the hell did you get Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, and Austin Eckler? First off, condolences to your team and all the injuries, because that is tough. But he also has James White, Gibson, and Dobbins. He's asking who we think he should potentially move. Looks like we lost Josh there for a second.
Yeah.
But who should he potentially move? We've said it on this show. Austin Eckler may not play again this season. I've seen a lot of people trading for Austin Eckler and giving up a lot. If you can give away Austin Eckler and get a decent return, I would do that.
And James White is a full cut for me at this point.
Yeah, White's killing
no
me.
one's going to trade for him. So he was already an underrated, I'm using underrated in quotes here, an underrated player coming into the season, and now he's disappointed. Nobody wants him. So
he's killing me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there with the Eckler. I wish I knew if this is Dynasty or redraft. But if it's redraft and you've got someone that thinks that Eckler is going to be back for the fantasy playoffs,
this is redraft, John.
Okay, then I would be more than happy. If someone's going to give you anything for Eckler right now in redraft, I would take it.
And the Chargers have no incentive to bring Eckler back. They just signed him to a long-term deal.
They're not winning.
Exactly. They're not winning. Justin Jackson is playing fantastic. There is no reason to rush Eckler back. So you can move him and have no anxiety about it.
Yeah, just to add on, he said he got lucky. The first 2 picks in the draft were Lamar Jackson and Tyreek Hill. Dude, can I play in your league next year? Christian McCaffrey at 3.
Hit me up with an invite, but make it $100 buy-in.
Wow. If you had someone...
Let's have some fun.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill at 2? Wow. Someone smoked a lot of kush the night before. Woo. That's... Damn.
They were worried he wasn't going to be there at 19.
Oh God, that's crazy.
Love it.
From Jackson, would you guys start Zach Moss over Jonathan Taylor moving forward? I would start Zach Moss over Jonathan Taylor this week.
Yeah.
Not moving forward.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is not an automatic move to bench at this point.
Yeah, no.
And even a bad week this week, don't, as John pointed out earlier in the show, don't freak out. He's going to have a bad week this week.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if he does somehow come out and his ankle's good and he balls out in this matchup this weekend, then I'm like, yes, okay.
Obviously, yeah.
Let's go.
And even if he's on your bench, don't be upset about it. Just be happy you still have him.
Yeah, you got to, at this point, like this week, you got to be cautious with Jonathan Taylor because we don't really have any information about that ankle. And that's concerning. And it's a tough matchup against Baltimore. Like the hardest one he's going to have the rest of the year is this week against Baltimore. So be patient this week with him. If he's getting back and getting healthy next week, then, fire him up as planned.
Yeah. All right. I believe we are all caught up on questions here, although Sean asked one question that's intriguing. Yes, is if Kittle is droppable in redraft. He has Lazard and Chubb 100%. In his 2 IR slots. He's saying 3 weeks. The team is saying 6. Doesn't want to jump the gun.
Same thing with Austin Eckler. They have zero need to rush him back. With all the injuries on that team, they're not making the playoffs this year, and they paid him. So there's no reason for him. There's really no reason for Jimmy G to come back either. Nope. This year, and even though
I heard something with Shanahan saying that they were going to shut Jimmy G down for the season.
Well, they said they're going to shut him down until he's ready. They rushed him back already, so they're going to keep him out until he's 100%.
And again, we're halfway through the season, and they're not making the playoffs. There's no need for him to come back for week like 15 or 16. There's just no need. It's like, nah, we're good here. Let's just
Shanahan's not on a hot seat. Like there's no reason to bring anybody back.
Eyes on next year. That's all it is. Let's get everyone healthy.
You've already lost Nick Bosa. You've decimated your defense. You kind of showed your hand when you traded Quan Alexander away at the trade deadline too.
Toughest division in football.
Yeah,
they're not making the playoffs. All right. So 53 minutes into the show, we will finally go through our upside downsides here. That is not a slight to anybody. Thank you for all the questions because this is what makes the show interesting. We could feel confident not showing up with a show doc for you guys, and we would still be able to do at least a 90-minute show. So
and for all the new people, we do this same exact thing Saturday morning where it's all about your questions at 11 o'clock.
Yes. Yes, same, John. It's the thing I read off of. All right, upsides. Lauren, if you're still here in the chat, you were 1-3 last week. So, John, you got to beat Lauren at 1-3 last week. You have Derek Carr in Los Angeles against the Chargers, David Montgomery in Tennessee, Antonio Brown against the New Orleans Saints on Sunday night, Evan Ingram in Washington against the football team. Ryan, you were 2-2 last week, 13-18-1 overall. You have Drew Lock in Atlanta, home against Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
Thank you. LaMichael Pirine, home against the Patriots. Damiere
Interesting.
Byrd in New York against the Jets. And Eric Ebron in Dallas against the Cowboys. Josh, goose egg for you last week. I won't make fun of you because I also laid a goose egg last week.
It was bad.
John will.
Yeah.
Oh, so bad last week.
Yeah.
All around.
I don't know Josh's picks, but I had Ben DiNucci. That was just a complete joke pick. That was a joke pick. I was I don't like any quarterbacks.
Well, technically, it should be 0-3-1 because Dalton Keene was actually ruled out before the game with a knee.
Yeah, but I'm giving
I
you a
didn't know.
0 on that because Dalton Keene wasn't catching a football.
Well, you still got a goose egg. It's just
It just looks better, okay?
I had Rashard
Coming from an
Higgins and
Eagles
Harrison
fan.
Bryant in a freaking nor'easter. So that didn't work. That really hurt me. Every Cleveland player I picked.
That was a terrible game.
Terrible game.
It's so bad.
But Josh, you once again have decided to pick another New England Patriot that is just absolutely stupid. Cam Newton, yes, he is playing the Jets, but he's also, hear me out.
Cam Newton.
He's Cam Newton. So, don't start Cam Newton.
I mean, my note is literally this, and let's face it, it's the Jets. If Cam can't get right against them, there's literally no hope for him this year.
No hope for him in the future. Not just this year. His career's done.
Josh, I will make a beer bet with you.
Oh, baby.
That Cam Newton gets benched during this game.
No, he won't. John, you are going to lose that bet because they hate Jarrett Stidham. I can tell you that for a fact. They would rather have a sack of potatoes than Brian Hoyer at quarterback, and they'd rather pull Steve Belichick on the field, put him in pads, than to put Jarrett Stidham on the field.
Hey, but at least you know that flow would look great at the back of the
exactly.
Listen, John, if you win this bet, you tell me the future, who's winning the Super Bowl, and I'll bet them right now. Because if Cam Newton gets benched,
I'm in.
I'll take the bet. Yeah, I'll take the bet.
John,
hold on, John.
Okay.
Hold on. So if they're blowing out the Jets and he gets benched, does that count as getting benched?
That doesn't count.
Okay.
I'm operating on good faith. You know what I mean by that.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm not saying if it's 42-7 and they're like, okay, sure, Stidham gets the last 3 minutes. Like, no, you know what I'm saying by that for lack of performance.
Poor performance.
Now, is this a beer bet in the terms that buying each other a pack, or is this a beer bet coming on the show and chugging one?
I was gonna say I was just gonna chug one to open the show if I lose.
Sure, I'll do that. I'm down.
That's fine.
Chug bet.
Fantastic. Okay.
Cool.
So I put Josh's odds at about minus 5,000 to win that bet. Because you have a better chance of seeing Julian Edelman take a snap under center than you do Jarrett Stidham against the Jets. Realistically, they hate Jarrett Stidham for some reason. I don't know why.
Hey, remember in August he was supposedly the guy. So,
John,
Right.
I have said this for the last 3 weeks. I'd rather lose with Jarrett Stidham than at Cam Newton at quarterback.
Ryan, ye of little faith, you need to understand that while I'm talking to Josh, I'm actually poking fun up there at Joe. And if my only downside in doing this is coming on and chugging a beer, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, there's no heartbreak.
Yeah,
there's no
you're doing a
heartbreak
good
in that
job.
situation except for Joe.
I'm just fucking
Exactly.
with Joe while directing it at Josh. It's great. This
You know what? It's going to make for a good clip as the teaser this week. Me yelling at you for thinking that Cam Newton is going to get benched.
But I really think it happens. Anyways,
I hope, John, I would be the first person to jump at the fact if he got benched. Trust me. Josh, you have JaMychal Hasty as your upside running back.
A little worrisome on that now, but I'm going to stick with it.
That's going to bite you in the ass a little
Probably.
later. You also have Antonio Brown as your upside receiver. I'll just boilerplate this for both Josh and John. Brady is going to force feed the shit out of Antonio Brown.
yes.
I.e. reference back to the Miami game last year when Brown had like a day of practice.
And keep in mind, too, the Saints have allowed the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers over since week 5.
That's because the Saints secondary is garbage.
Well, that's because Marshawn Lattimore is not Marshawn Lattimore right now. I don't know what is going on with that dude.
It's every other year with him. We've talked about that on the show.
Oh, so he's the Matt Ryan of cornerbacks.
There you go.
Well, even better. with AB going up against that Gardner Johnson, we might see him get punched 2 weeks in a row.
I was just about to say, look out for CJ Gardner Johnson. Just about to say that.
Oh man,
Yeah, but AB's a changed man now.
Oh yeah, sure he is. I'm sure.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Josh, you also have Hunter Henry as your upside tight end. I was thinking Henry as well, but I don't have confidence in Hunter Henry.
I would love to see it. Give me a 2 touchdown.
I would
week
too.
on Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
I would love to see
I
it.
would love to see Hunter
So
Henry.
would everybody who has Hunter Henry at this
Jesus.
Yeah. Myself, I had a goose egg last week as well. I picked 2 Cleveland Browns. I already said it. Not just terrible week. 14, 17, and 1 overall. My upside this week, I have Deshaun Watson in Jacksonville, Damian Harris in New York against the Jets, Nelson Aguilar in Los Angeles against the Chargers, and Dalton Schultz against Pittsburgh. My reasoning for Schultz?
I like that Aguilar pick.
Yeah.
Aguilar is, I would have to say, my boldest one out of them.
Yeah. But give me like 1 or 2 deep shots.
That's what I said.
Secondary.
That's exactly what I said. I'm like, he's going to catch 1 or 2 deep balls, and that's probably going to make his day, and one of them's going to be a touchdown. So,
Possibly.
yeah. For some reason, him and Carr have a connection right now.
Well, and we saw it last week with Locke hitting on the deep balls. So.
Yep, correct.
Chargers secondary.
And they just traded Desmond King, too.
Yep.
Yeah, for a 6th-round pick. Gross.
See, I wonder if that's not going to lead to a big Hunter
Why,
Renfrow, but I won't take away
why
from
didn't
your upside.
Seattle like
That's
if
kind of
it's
what
gonna
I was
cost
thinking, too.
if it only cost you a 6th-round pick, why
Why
Seattle
not?
not go get Desmond
Yeah.
King? Like, come on.
John, here's the thing. They're good at drafting late-round picks. They don't
Oh,
understand
we are
first-round
no. We are fantastic from round 3 through 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they wouldn't
didn't
do
wanna
it. They're
give it
like,
up.
Whoa, a
didn't
6th
wanna
round
give it up.
pick. Come on, man. You're coming for our gold.
Yeah. If they said, hey, give us a first-round pick, I would have been like, you got it, man. Easy.
Yeah, what do we do?
We don't use our first anyways. Here you go.
Do you want Rashad Penny too?
I am holding out hope. I think Rashad Penny still has a future. I'm holding out hope. I did trade for him in Dynasty, so I'm hoping.
No, he's dead.
Maybe
He's
not in
dead.
Seattle, but elsewhere.
No.
Downsides. John Lauren was 2-2 last week, so you got to beat that out. You have Lamar Jackson in Indianapolis.
So how do we quantify this? by
Oh
the way?
yes, sorry,
Okay,
John
so
doesn't know.
here's
Josh,
the scoring.
I was gonna do it, but
Okay,
okay,
go
I know. I host the show.
right.
I feel like
That's fine.
things.
Wow.
So a
look at that
quarterback-
pride from Joe. That's not a good look.
Stealing
Anyways,
my shine. Josh takes all the shine.
I was
Quarterback.
really
Really
quiet today.
You
compared
have
to
been
most weeks, so.
you have been having issues on your end, technical issues. Quarterback has to finish top 15. So if they finish outside, that counts. If
On
you
the
know,
downside.
oh yeah, no,
on
I'm
the
good there.
downside.
Yep. I'm good.
Yep. Running back has to finish top 24.
Okay.
Wide receiver has to finish top 36. So receiver is normally the toughest one. And then tight end, if they score double-digit points, it counts as an upside. If they score single-digit, it's a downside. Because normally
I
double-digit...
like that way because saying like the tight end 12 means nothing.
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
can-
like
exactly.
last week there was only 11 tight ends that top 10 points.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
yeah, I like that. No, I'm good. I'm good with my picks. We happy.
Fantastic. Todd Gurley, home against Denver.
go.
DJ Moore in Kansas City. And Mike Gesicki in Arizona. Ryan, you were 2-2 last week. Actually, everyone was a full 500 last week on the downside. So not too good, not too bad. We'll take it. Middle of the road. Ryan, you have Drew Brees. I think, again, you picked Drew Brees last week.
Yep.
Doubling down on the Brees. You also have Todd Gurley, Devontae Parker, and Mark Andrews. I think double down on the Mark Andrews as well, correct?
No, this is my
No.
first time ever doubting Mark Andrews in life. It
Oh,
was-
I thought, okay. Oh, no, you had Hawkinson last week, and he
Yep.
lit it up. Josh,
Hawk Daddy.
you have Daniel Jones in Washington, which is going to contradict Mr. Ryan's stream of the week.
yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, home against Baltimore. Brandon Ayuk, who is no longer playing.
Yeah, gonna have to change that one now.
So you can change that one. And Hayden Hurst against Denver. Myself, I have Josh Allen. I say home against Buffalo. I'm an idiot. They're home against Seattle.
Well, to be fair,
Yeah.
he
Buffalo
beat
probably does
himself a
feel.
lot.
That's
I'll say
true.
Buffalo probably feels like they are playing Josh Allen every damn week. Like,
That's
what are
true.
you doing?
Yep. Ezekiel Elliott, not the week for him. James Washington, I think he's the odd man out. Yes, it's Dallas, but someone has to be the odd man out, and I think it's James Washington. And I also have. Go ahead, John.
Good. I was just gonna say this is such a juju week.
Yes.
Yeah,
should be.
And then I also have Mike Gesicki as my downside. Not even for the fact that Budda Baker's covering him, it's for the fact that do we really know how Tua is going to use him?
Or they're going to throw the ball more than 20 times.
Exactly. Like they ran the football. Tua had a baby. Like that was classic rookie game. We're going to baby you and protect you.
He didn't freaking need to. They got a touchdown on defense and special teams and got another turnover at the 2 and just went, okay, Gaskin, here you go. Just turn around and hand it to you and you go for he didn't have to do anything. Like 3/4 of the quarterbacks in the NFL would have been asked to do exactly what he was given the other 2 phases and how they performed, which is just let's just not lose. Like we got 3 touchdowns essentially off of defense and special teams.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to run through these questions. Then we're going to go through stream of the week, my kicker of the week, which we will get to, guys. I am so sorry. Rodrigo Blankenship forgot how to kick over the bye week, and I apologize for that. That was ugly.
The specs.
Yeah, absolutely ugly. But from Jackson, his running backs without injuries. Oh, so my running backs without injuries are Chubb, Connor, Taylor, and Moss. It's looking like Moss could get a starting spot soon. He doesn't know who to start at his flex when Chubb comes back. So my guess is it's between Moss and Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just going to see what Taylor looks like, look at the matchups.
Yep. Play the matchups. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't
I think Chubb and Connor are your 1 and 2, and then play your matchups with Taylor and Moss.
Which honestly, when you look at Jonathan Taylor's schedule down the back half of the season, the matchups are going to favor Jonathan Taylor.
Correct.
Like every freaking week.
Yeah.
Like
and when you drafted these running backs, that was the plan, was to play the matchups. You knew, because I'm guessing you probably had a back end first round pick, took Chubb and Connor. You knew those were going to be your starters. So.
Yeah. Yep.
He even could have potentially had an early first and went late second, early third on Chubb Connor, depending on how that draft went.
Very true. Another one from my brother. Pick up 1 for this week. Damiere Byrd, Jacoby Myers, N'Keal Harry, David Moore, Marvin Jones, Jerry Jeudy, or Mr. Mike. I am going to screw your fantasy team. Yeah. Mike, I'm going to screw your fantasy team when I start you and screw you when you bench me, Mr. Mike Williams. John is an emphatic Mike Williams.
Oh, yeah. I love Mike Will against that Raiders secondary. Give me Mike Williams. I think this is a massive Herbert torch week where he could potentially put up 3 or 4 touchdowns through the air, and I think that Mike Will's good for at least one of them. So I'm down with Mike Williams.
Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also like Marvin Jones this week with Galladay potentially out. So
if I knew Stafford was going to come off that COVID list, I would like Marvin Jones a lot more.
He's flying separately, like in a separate plane.
Yeah, they're saying that he could be cleared literally in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah, so if I'm making a decision,
otherwise it's David Blau at quarterback.
Exactly.
The elite David Blau, who almost led the Lions.
The Thanksgiving game last year was something else.
Yep.
He was slinging it.
But you got to go Mike Will with just the questions in Detroit right now.
Yep, exactly.
Luis Vallejo, I believe. What's good, guys? Plays an ESPN 10-man standard. A lot of questions about Jonathan Taylor, and I love that
Before we even start, thank you for putting the format at the beginning.
Yes, it's perfect.
Please do that every time. 10-man standard, yes.
I just love all the Jonathan Taylor questions we're getting with the number 1 Jonathan Taylor fan on here.
Yeah, seriously, a lot of JT.
So the questions, does he pick up Nyheim Hines or Jordan Wilkins, or just sit tight with Jonathan Taylor? His other running backs are Josh Jacobs, James Conner, and Austin Eckler. No, you're not. Keep Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Connor and Jacobs already had their bye week. You don't need to go grab handcuffs, especially handcuffs in a standard league. If Taylor gets right, Wilkins is worthless, and Hines has minimal value in a standard league.
Yeah, I agree. Co-signed.
All right. Sean saying, this is for real the last question.
That's right, Sean.
We love you, Sean. We love you. You keep the show moving. He wants to make this move now for Hooper and another tight end. Who would you drop out as a 10-team PPR, Rashard Higgins or Kenyon Drake? He says he's stronger at running back than he is receiver, and he's leaning Kenyon Drake. To me, no one's rushing to pick up Rashard Higgins. Someone would rush to pick up Kenyon Drake, so you drop Rashard Higgins.
Yeah, it's unlikely Higgins get picked up on the bye week, so after you cut Jared Cook this week, you may be able to just bring Higgins right back on. So
that's a good point.
Correct.
Yep,
yeah.
I'm with it.
If I'm ever in the situations, I look at, is anyone going to scram to pick up this guy? No one's scrambling to pick up Higgins. And if they are, you know what? You lost Rashard Higgins. It is what it is.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yep. And McSweet, Josh, I see you answered it already in the chat, but he says he got DK Metcalf, and I assume McSweet's new to fantasy football. He asked, who is that? And Johnny asked, does he trade DK Metcalf? McSweet, you hang the hell on to that guy. I stole him in like the 6th round in one of my leagues. Stole him. He is an absolute beast this year and will be a beast for years to come.
And it's what this offense is. I've pointed it out on the show many times. They alternate boom and bust games, but his boom games win you weeks.
Oh yeah.
His bust game is still like
15 points.
4 for 90. Like
exactly.
You're fine. Like, okay, like I'm not gonna go on a massive tangent. DK Metcalf is emerging as an absolute elite wide receiver in this league. He is a wide receiver 1 in every format. I am on record as of last night stating that he is my dynasty wide receiver 1. It is DK Metcalf, always and forever. I love him. He is a physical freak tied to a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's DK Metcalf forever.
I mean, look at the best quarterbacks in the league. You have Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. Not in that order. Let me just preface that. Not in that order. You look at the receivers tied to them. Metcalf's the youngest, the most skilled.
He's 22. He is 22 years old.
And he has the best quarterback.
Oh, and he's also 6'4" and runs a 4.3 40.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, Ryan. Finally, it's about time. Your stream of the week. Let's fly through these, buddy. Daniel Jones at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I'm going to say is going to make you feel 100% comfortable about starting Daniel Jones, and I get that. He's the QB 26 on the year. He's thrown 2 more interceptions than he has touchdowns. But he can beat this Washington team. It's a rough week for bye weeks because if you're starting Wentz, you lost him. Burrow, Goff is a popular streaming option, and he's on bye this week as well. Jones has won over 16 fantasy points in each of his last 3 games, 20 in the last 2. His first 16-point game was against Washington, and Washington allows the second most rushing yards to quarterbacks and have allowed 4 rushing TDs this year. I feel like even if Jones can't beat them through the air, he can beat them with his legs, and he's available in more than 70% of leagues. Yahoo and ESPN.
Eric Ebron in Dallas.
Yeah, this is his 3rd time on the list. He's 1-1 up to this point. His role is steady in the offense. It's gotten bigger as the seasons went on. Dallas gives up 13 fantasy points to tight ends, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to stream a tight end. He's went for 40 yards or a touchdown in 5 of his last 6 games and just caught 4 balls for 48 yards and a touchdown against Baltimore, which is clearly a far better defense than what Dallas is going to put out there. Dallas did shut down Philly's tight ends last week, but I think that's going to be the exception, not the rule, and you can get Ebron in 50% of Yahoo leagues, but only 38% on ESPN, which is kind of weird. ESPN is usually the opposite. So people on ESPN have already picked him up, but if you're in Yahoo, he's probably still out there for you.
Just to chip in on that real fast, Dallas did not shut down Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was asked to block because their offensive line is
because they didn't need to do anything yet.
Yeah, they needed the help on the offensive line, so it was bringing him in for help.
Yeah, and that's not going to be a problem for Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
no,
definitely not. And then the Giants defense making an appearance at the top.
If you don't trust me for Daniel Jones, trust me on this one. They're a top 10 defense on the season. Nobody realizes this because it's the damn Giants.
Crazy.
They finished top 12 4 times already this season, and they were the defense 5 in week 6. when they played Washington. In that game, they had 3 sacks, 2 takeaways, and scored a touchdown. They've registered multiple sacks and at least 1 takeaway every game except 1 this season. And Washington gives up the 9th most fantasy points to defenses right now. New York, because they're the Giants, are available in 80% of leagues. If you're looking for a defense this week, you're not going to find a better one on waivers. Outside of the Packers, who would have been my stream of the week, especially with all this news coming down, but we don't pick Thursday games. So look for the Packers first. If they're not there, grab the Giants.
Awesome. All right, my kicker of the week. I said I'm sorry for Rodrigo Blankenship. I don't know what happened. Kickers coming off buys tend to be good, and I'm doing it again this week. Zane Gonzalez against Miami. Zane Gonzalez loves kicking indoors. The Dolphins have looked stronger on defense as of late. And Arizona, I believe, has the best red zone touchdown efficiency in the league. Over 50% of the time they score a touchdown. So going up against a defense that's looked good, I think they're going to stall probably somewhere between the 35 and the 20-yard line, which is going to open up, obviously, opportunities for Zane Gonzalez to kick. His range is anything within 58 yards, and they are more than happy to let this guy let it rip if it is, anything more than like a 4th and 3 situation. So love Zane Gonzalez this week. And my blurred lines pick 2-0 last week because I gave you a bonus pick with the Bears at +4. That hit. And our Eagles -7.5, which turned into a -10.5 bet that still hit. This week, betting against the Bears this week, actually. Tennessee -5.5 against the Bears.
Cakewalk.
You say that, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Nah, I'll take Tennessee.
Because I truly believe these are the 2 biggest fraud teams in the NFL right now based on record.
You have got to get off of your hatred of Tannehill.
Yeah, seriously, man.
Weird. They just lost to the Bengals last week, right?
Hey, Joe, I'll make another beer bet.
Okay.
Joe doesn't drink, though, so.
I don't drink. I'll chug it something.
And his bet is that Tennessee's going to win anyway.
Yeah, my bet's Tennessee's going to win anyway. I have Tennessee -5.5.
No, it's 5.5.
Yeah, -5.5. Yeah.
We'll figure out the wager later for the payback on it, but I'll bet that Tennessee covers 7.5 on this. -7.5 for Tennessee.
Ooh, since you hate it, he's giving you
2 more points.
So my reasoning is I'm not saying that I hate it for the reason that it's Ryan Tannehill. I hate it because I think both of these teams are mediocre piles of garbage. The teams overall. But here's the thing. Ryan Tannehill over Nick Foles. Derrick Henry over David Montgomery.
Derrick Henry over like everybody.
Everybody.
Love
Mike Vrabel over Matt Nagy. And to me, Tennessee's defense and Chicago's defense, even. Because if Tennessee's on, they're on. And we've seen Chicago get easily beat this season. So I have them even. And I said this with the Washington against Dallas Cowboys bet. That was a pick'em, essentially. I said, what happens when 2 bad or even teams match up? Who normally wins? The team with better coaching and the team with a better defense. Right now, I have these defenses at roughly even, and Vrabel's a better coach than Matt Nagy.
Far better.
And Tennessee is at home. I think this is another big week for Derrick Henry. I think A.J. Brown gets shut the hell down by Kyle Fuller, but that's going to open up plenty of passing lanes.
Corey Davis season, baby!
For Corey Davis and Adam Humphries, because you're going to have Corey Davis going up against Jalen Johnson, who has looked like the hole in a piece of Swiss cheese.
Give me Corey.
Yes. I think Tennessee easily covers the 5.5. I just hate it because these are 2 teams that I think are wildly overrated. When Tennessee was 5-0, that was a big fraud 5-0. We were saying it from the beginning. When Chicago was 4-1, we're like, this team is not supposed to be 4-1.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And they're coming back down to earth now.
They are very much coming back down to earth. But I think this should be a good game for Tennessee. I think it's going to be relatively close back and forth, but Tennessee is going to end up pulling away come the 4th quarter because I think Derrick Henry's just going to wear him down. I think Henry's going to wear him down.
Well, then our bet doesn't make any sense.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
We're both in agreement.
We're both in agreement.
It's going to be Tennessee in a runaway train. in the second half. I think I'm with you on that Derrick Henry wearing down the defense. Like, if this dude puts up 80 rushing yards in the second half, I'm not going to be surprised in the least. So, yeah, I'm completely in agreement with you there.
And I do want to preface this that Pro Football Focus had not put out their percentage to cover lines, so I did it based off of the percentage of cash spent, which means wherever the bets are being placed. 77% of bets were being placed on the Bears to cover 5.5 points.
All because of what the Bengals did last week. So.
Yes, exactly.
Dang, okay.
So that and it, like, I looked at all the games, like I looked at a few of them and it was like 60-40, 55-45, and I was like, are you kidding me? 70.
You know what the Bears don't have? Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, baby. Joe Burrow looks really
like
damn
an
good.
NFL quarterback.
Yes, like
not as good as Herbert.
No, not as good as Herbert right now, but I mean, look at both of those guys are going to be really, really good. Like, you could argue right now. Okay, let's end the show on this right here. By the end of the 2021 season, is Joe Burrow the best quarterback in the AFC North?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No.
You still think Lamar's better?
I mean, from an all-around perspective, yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, listen, Joe Burrow is clearly the best pure passer. Like,
sure.
by the end of next year, and with Ben falling off and things like that, and him getting older, yeah, Joe Burrow is a very, very good quarterback. He's the best pure passer in that division, absolutely. I expect the kind of slow start for Lamar Jackson to kind of even out. I think that they're going to get that kind of rectified here, and it's not just him as a pure passer, but what he brings to the table as a rusher. So, if you want to say, is Joe Burrow the best like passer in the AFC North? Yeah, I'll give him that, like, for sure. But I think that what Lamar brings to the table from a rushing perspective that defenses have to account for in that way makes him a very, very difficult weapon to plan for. But I love Joe Burrow. The kid's looking great. He's making great reads, throwing with confidence, throwing with timing. That play to seal the game to Tyler Boyd, where Boyd basically got into like a hand fight with the coverage across the middle of the field, and Burrow threw it while Boyd was still locked up with hands, and it was behind him. So Boyd separated and turned, and the ball was like right where it was supposed to be. That's freaking beautiful. That is NFL quarterback work. Burrow is a very special quarterback for sure, and I think that he's on his way to getting things turned around there in Cincinnati.
Awesome. And last one before we hop off here from Luis. 10-man standard for wide receivers. He has Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Will Fuller, DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, Hollywood Brown, and Jalen Reagor.
Well,
he needs to start 2 and flex 1. Josh, I'll start with you.
I would go Hill, Jefferson, and Fuller.
John?
I mean, obviously Tyreek Hill. You're starting him every week. Let me take a look at the matchups here really quick.
Evans has New Orleans.
Evans has New Orleans. Will Fuller has
in Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville. That's really juicy.
Minnesota has Detroit. Baltimore has Indy, and DJ Moore has Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going same. I'm going Tyreek Hill, Fuller, and Justin Jefferson.
Ryan?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And just make sure, hold Reagor through this bye week. Reagor is going to win you your next 3 games.
I'll say it again. I've been on this since the beginning of the year. Mike Evans was being overdrafted. I didn't understand why he was still being taken so high.
Yeah, same. You and I both.
Trade him. Trade him right now if you can, because they're about to have Godwin back next 2 weeks, and then AB there as well, who we know is getting force-fed this week. If you can trade Mike Evans right now off the back of what he did last week against the Giants, get rid of him immediately. If you have all these wide receivers, you probably need a running back. go get a running back for Mike Evans.
Absolutely, I love that call so much. See if you can send Mike Evans for
Nick Chubb on bye week coming back off.
That would be great. That's a great move. I would love that.
Tom Brady, outside of the year with Randy Moss, has never been able to throw a deep ball. Go back, look at it. He's never been able to do it accurately. That's where Mike Evans lives. Right now, he is a glorified red zone threat. That's his value in fantasy football. His touchdowns come within 2 yards.
I don't know if you've seen the tweet that I've been basically retweeting for the last couple of weeks, where like 4 weeks ago I tweeted, "Is Mike Evans the best goal line wide receiver?"
Yeah,
in the NFL, because that's his usage. Like he's basically a vulture for a wide receiver. Like it's a weird thing, right? But he's so good, like at the goal line or inside the 10, that when they get down there, that's what they're looking to do with it. But outside of that, Mike Evans is not really all that heavily utilized in that offense.
It's the perfect analogy as a goal line, because he's either going to get you 3 fantasy points, 7 or 14, depending on if he does nothing, scores 1 touchdown, or scores 2 touchdowns.
I love it. I love it. He's basically a tight end, is what you're saying. That's fantastic.
100%.
Yep. Josh, you said there's a couple more straggler questions before we hop off here.
Yep. Here's the first one. Marvin Jones versus Minnesota, or Deontay Johnson against the Cowboys?
It'd be Johnson for me, regardless if I knew what was going on with Stafford. Johnson against the Cowboys.
Deontay Johnson.
I'm not so sure. You guys are really quick to jump on that.
It's the Cowboys, man. It's the Cowboys. They're
I
so
get it.
bad.
I get it. But you have Juju.
There's a lot of mouths. I'll give you that.
You have Chase Claypool. It's like every week it's one of these guys' weeks. And if I got Marvin Jones against the Vikings, who are an equally terrible secondary right now, and I know his role in that offense, and Kenny Golladay is also banged up, potentially even missing the game, I think that I'll take Marvin Jones for a safer floor, but I think Deontay Johnson has a higher ceiling, depending on how that game is utilized and which wide receiver is the flavor of the week for Ben Roethlisberger. So it kind of depends on what you need. If you're in a bad matchup where your opponent is, a heavyweight in your league, then I'll probably go with Deontay Johnson. If you're looking for a little bit more safety, I think I'll take Marvin Jones this week.
I think for me, it's going to boil down to whether Stafford plays.
Yep.
If Stafford plays, Marvin Jones, I think, is the guy hands down.
If Jones
without Golladay.
If Stafford doesn't play at all, then it's Deontay Johnson for me, no matter what.
Deontay Johnson hands down, and that's coming from the biggest Deontay Johnson truther right now. I love him, but he just keeps getting nicked up. He's missing time, but when he plays a full game, he's seeing double-digit targets.
Yep.
And but it's like, can you bank on him actually making it through the whole game? Like the guy's morphing into Will Fuller right now, and I don't like it.
So when Marvin Jones has played in Minnesota the previous 2 years, he has not scored a touchdown and has not scored more than 12
points. That's a completely different secondary now, though.
Sure. Has not scored more than 12.6 minutes. I'm just bringing it up. If you go back to 2017, he was 2 for 42. But here's the thing, Josh. The last 2 times he's played Minnesota in Detroit, combined, he has had 16 catches for almost 250 yards and 6 touchdowns. At home against Minnesota, but this game is in Minnesota.
I don't care.
That's all I'm saying, is he struggles in Minnesota but destroys them in Detroit. That's all I'm saying.
All right, we got a couple more that we can run through real quick.
Go for it.
Justin Jackson versus the Raiders. Damian Harris versus the Jets.
Damian Harris, next question.
Find a way to start both of them.
Yeah, I like both.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's 100% fair.
Let's see where the other one's at.
Cosign. I think both are going to have really good weeks here. If you can get both in your lineup, then get both in your lineup. If you're picking only one, it's Damian Harris for me.
Yeesh.
All right, next one. Jonnu Smith or
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu.
If it's not Kelsey, a healthy Kittle, or Darren Waller, it's Jonnu Smith for me every week.
Jonnu Smith has scored single-digit points the last 3 weeks.
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, so has every other fantasy tight end not named by John just now. That's the issue with fantasy tight end.
I'm going Jonnu Smith.
Because Tanyan hasn't been good.
Tanya scored double digit last week.
Did he?
Yes.
Yep.
I have him on my fantasy team.
He did. I still don't care. It's Jonnu Smith.
Robert Tonyan has had more receptions and yards than Jonnu Smith.
That's fantastic. It's still Jonnu Smith.
I'm going Tonyan. I'm sorry. I'm going Robert Tonyan.
Tunyon.
Yeah,
Tunyon.
It rhymes with Funyun.
Frickin'. Spell it with a U. Ugh. Robert Tunyon for me. Josh, what else?
Yeah, I think that's the last one.
That is the last one. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Always
Yeah,
fun
It was a
with
good
John's
time.
here.
A good 90-minute show. Thanks, John. This is always fun having you on.
Absolutely, man. Good times.
Always a good time. You can
Always a
follow
pleasure.
John, obviously, at Dynasty Beard. It says it right there, and you can tell by the luscious beard
The
that he's
wonderful
got going on
beard.
right there. Yeah. The number one Jonathan Taylor fan in the world. So if you want some
Sure.
JT news, go ahead and go ahead. And
I
find
would
him.
also just like to submit for the class, though, that, like, yes, I am a massive Jonathan Taylor fan. I was pre-draft, all that. I am still a realist, though. So, like, I'm going to give you actual advice. I understand that right now he's not playing like an RB1. I'm not treating him like this guy's a top 5 running back in the NFL. So happy to discuss. Feel free to get at me. My DMs are open. I'm happy to talk, start sits, trades, dynasty, super flex, single quarterback redraft, whatever you got. I'm happy to get at it.
Political leanings aside, did you guys see the tweet today that said, "Good job, Wisconsin. This makes up for Jonathan Taylor"?
I did, and I was like, I was so triggered, and I almost jumped on that and was like, I was fisticuffs. I was like ready to go.
That's great.
But I'm like, I'm gonna let it slide.
This makes up for Jonathan Taylor.
I'll let it slide.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Jonathan Taylor's an RB1 rest of the season.
yes.
But not this week.
Not this week. Definitely not this week. Rest of the season, though. All right. If you missed any questions or you wanted to get more questions in, Saturday we have our start sit show. Josh, are we going to have our special guest?
I'm going to confirm with them when we get off.
Yeah. Awesome. Stay tuned. Special guest. Very excited if him or her is able to come on with us. That's Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's everywhere you're watching right now minus Twitch. We didn't get any Twitch questions, so I don't know if anyone's watching on Twitch, but anywhere you're watching now, you can get us on there. It's driven by all your questions, so be sure to tune in there. And also, Club Dynasty on Friday with, I keep forgetting his name, Ryan.
Marvin Eloquent.
Thank you.
Eloquent.
It's a fantastic name, too, and I hate that I keep forgetting it.
Super excited to be on the show. Talk
Yes.
to him today. So
Marvin Eloquent
Yep.
will be joining the show to talk Dynasty football. If you missed the first one with Tommy Garrett, that is over on our YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe on there.
Yeah, Tommy's a bum.
Yeah.
Is the love affair over, John?
Love affair's done. No longer the Tinder of fantasy football podcast. Although we could be. We
that
are.
was a great episode. That was so much fun.
We could be the Tinder of fantasy football podcast. It was like a one-night stand. So
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly
we are.
the Tinder.
Exactly the Tinder of
No
fantasy
long-term
football podcast.
love connection, but it was a wonderful night.
It was a good night. It was a good night. Next week, week 10. Josh, I'm going to need your help pronouncing this last name. We're going to have Kira.
Oh, Kira!
So one more time.
Wyatt Tarowski.
Wyatt Tarowski. All right, Kira, I'm gonna nail that when you come on. No, I'm not. We'll have Kira Wyatt Tarowski on with us, and of course, she is with Club Fantasy. She is our DFS writer, so we're very excited to have
By the
her
way,
join us.
I got to jump in there before we end this thing. I love Kira. She's absolutely phenomenal. Such a great voice as a writer. She puts out great content. She knows her stuff. She's fantastic. Everyone should be following her. She is an ascending name in this space. I think that she is very capable of doing very good stuff. Big fan, big supporter of her from the beginning. So good job on you guys for kind of getting her onto your team and giving her a platform. I think that she was a great ad for all y'all, and I'm excited to see what she does.
I actually approached her first about doing Dynasty.
It's all
And when she mentioned DFS, I was like, hey, let's roll. Let's do it. So
let's go.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. For the One Hudsonian, Joshua Hudson, the Fantasy 5, Ryan Weiss, Dynasty Beard, Jon Helmkamp, myself, Joe_Zolo. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you on Friday for Club Dynasty with Marvin Eloquin. Goodbye, everyone. We will see you on Friday.